Yeah.
Yeah, just 1 second. And we're live.
Okay, we can start.
Alka,
We
are you
start
reading?
from, but yeah. Yes, Kitav. But from when we pray or before that?
You've done all that.
Okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't here the last time.
We have to start from but when we pray. We have not done this. We've finished.
Not done it?
Yeah.
Right, thank you. But when we pray, to which God or Godhead shall we pray?
Hmm.
Not that vague thought, to the one and only God, repeated parrot like a tape recorder. God must be beyond your conception to be a God. And above all, if God is a He, then forget Him.
Right. So God must be beyond him or her, right? If he's a he, then forget him, right? And I mean, what we just pray to whatever concept we have of God. We are only praying to our own imagination.
People suffer from hallucinations and are termed mentally sick. It is a mental malady and needs treatment. The pious people and Bhakti Yoga disciples also suffer from hallucinations. They too are mentally sick and need treatment. God is not free to give darshan to the devotees. In the former case, hallucinations may be of a morbid type, and in the latter case, they may be of a pleasant and religious type. Nevertheless, all hallucinations need treatment, whatever the type.
Right. Some may be of a sad type, yeah? And some may be of a, what do you call, pleasant type. Yeah.
In this fourth substage on the upward arc of Bhu, we are in deep confusion because of limited awareness. We as human beings of our period grope our way about. Most of us worship the greatest of all gods, I.
Yeah. Because I believe in this God, everybody must believe in that God. So we, instead of worshipping God, we are worshipping I.
Unfailingly, and the rest of us have some vague idea of God, more created by man with his wild imagination. It is better to worship what you know rather than a meaningless God, for how can it be possible for a human mind to figure that which is not ever seen by anyone, much less that which is beyond conception?
Yeah.
We are told, rather, we have heard repeatedly and from many people that in one of the most famous temples of South India, Lord Balaji walks over every night to his consort, and that the sandals placed at his holy feet near the idol, we suppose, get worn out.
Hmm.
What a god and what great worshippers! We are informed that he is the richest god in India. No one word is added to what we have heard. And in many temples, God is fed, bathed, put in his bed to sleep, and is not disturbed when he is asleep. To what limits can we go? And what helpless gods are we worshipping?
Right. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Does it not then mean that actually man creates a god and that too in his own image and with his frailties? And does he not impose on God some weaknesses that he himself has? An angry God. For can it ever be? By all means, carry on with your make believe, carry on for eternities, for we are all making this game of existence more interesting and longer lasting.
Right. Hmm.
So our beloved person, Mr. or Miss X, is dead. The divine fragment has thus had a name, and it has happened so a few million times, each time a different name. Had divine wholeness named or numbered each divine fragment, it would have made our present task easier, for we would then have clearly known that the physical body we know and call Mr. or Miss X, or father, mother, son, daughter, husband, wife, is all madness. Nothing short of madness, intense madness.
Yeah.
These outer coverings are sometimes male and sometimes female. And with succeeding lives, that is, births and deaths, the relations we know today would also seem so foolish. What with the mother becoming the wife and the son becoming the father?
Yeah.
If you could only see all this, the madness of it all, instead of crying and moaning and observing rites, ceremonies, and prayers, you would laugh till your sides split and your stomachs ache. All this foolish drama and humbug that goes on in the name of religion. But divine wholeness itself could not trespass on the birthright of each divine fragment to merge with and re emerge from it, so that there is no separate identity.
Yeah. So the divine fragment can merge into divine wholeness. Hmm.
It is our ignorance of the facts, not seeing one eternal life down and up the substages of existence and beyond, the ring pass not.
So actually, we must, instead of seeing the life of the body brain system, we must be able to see the life of the divine fragment who comes down, goes to Nadir, starts climbing up, and then goes back. And that whole thing should be seen as one life. Hmm. Right.
Awake, open your eyes, know, and be free. The
Hmm.
loved one is your memory of the personality of a particular physical body, and whatever you are consoling is your own memory.
Yeah. We are
Reason it,
consoling our, right? Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
re- okay. Reason it out. What else can it be?
Hmm.
If you lose memory by some chance, you will cease to mourn.
Yeah. So if we all get Alzheimer's, we won't be mourning. Right.
The greatest mirage in existence is memory, and in some cases, loss of memory.
Right.
At a particular hour, it plays its tricks with us, and we are not willing to counter it by being conscious.
Hmm. Right. The only way to counter memory is by being conscious. Right. So in consciousness, we can bypass memory.
We have stated earlier that awareness passes through phases like the moon, from no moon to full moon. Pure consciousness, on the other hand, is constant like the sun, bright and without phases.
Yeah.
Contrary,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
contrary to common belief and understanding, memory does not belong to the physical man.
Hmm.
All memory of all the important thoughts, motives, and acts, those that were premeditated and deliberately executed as to the harmful and damaging, as to be harmful and damaging to others, is held in three permanent seed atoms.
Hmm.
I'll repeat that again. All memory of all important thoughts, motives, and acts, those that were premeditated and deliberately executed as to be harmful and damaging to others is held in three permanent seed atoms.
Yeah. So memory belongs to the seed atoms.
What we call the super micro recording monitors, from which an exact and complete duplicate in coded microform of all our past lives in their entirety. What we call memory patterns is issued to each individual who's about to be born.
Right. So all the memory is preserved in the seed atoms, and at the time of the formation of the primary body inside, it is passed on to the what do you call newly born. Yeah.
Based on this, circumstances and events cross the individual's path and based on certain cycles come as events.
So based all the
Be-
events which come in our path is based on those patterns. And whatever cycles of good and bad come in our life, everything is based on those patterns which come from the permanent seed atoms. So we think in our life, I have done this, I have done that, but everything which has happened from those, what do you call, memory patterns.
a very complicated reckoning takes place.
Right.
Also, contrary to all beliefs and understandings, only 5% or a little more of an individual's life meets with these exacting patterns that have to be fulfilled, if not redeemed.
Right. So out of all those 100% of patterns to be free, you have to only, what do you call, redeem 5% of those patterns. That is what he's saying.
In each life, 5% of the patterns are given according to the
Acha.
super micro recording monitor.
Okay, so what he's saying is right, not what I'm saying, is that in each life, 5% of those patterns come down into the individual,
Which we
call redemption and being free of karma and all. But actually, it is only 5%.
Got it.
What do we mean by uh, events cross individual paths and based on certain cycle come as events? So what is certain cycles and what do we mean by a very complicated reckoning takes place?
Circumstances, right? And events cross the individual's path based on certain cycles come as,
Events.
yeah, Nishit, it is 5% of the total of all the patterns. Total of all the patterns.
And so, what is the difference in being fulfilled and if not redeemed? So, what is the difference in fulfilling and redeeming? So, can we say that one is mechanical and the other is conscious way of taking the suffering?
So, you supposing there is some pattern which has come to meet me, right? Now, either I have to fulfill that pattern or I have to redeem that pattern. Yeah, it will be very huge.
example of Tavaria is going continuously for a long time.
I think redemption happens when you're able to break through those patterns through awareness and watching them. And fulfillment is that those patterns are coming, so you have to, uh, the absorption of those patterns in your life stream has happened. Redemption is that when you have moved past those through consciousness or awareness.
Yeah. So certain, what do you call, patterns have invited certain events. Redemption is to be free of those patterns which have invited the event. Right? And fulfillment is go through the event consciously and without any complaining and be free of the event. Supposing today at 70 years, one 20-year-old girl comes and tells me, I love you, right? So I can see it from two perspectives. One is, do I have to fulfill it or can I redeem it? So in redemption, I will look within myself and see what patterns invited this event, and I will be free of those patterns. And that is the end of the event. And in fulfillment, I may say hello, hi to her and say, let's go have a cup of coffee or something and try to fulfill the pattern in whatever way it has to be fulfilled. Right? And that can also be done consciously. So what you're saying is right, that redemption is that you're free of the patterns which have invited that event in our life.
So in the case of fulfillment, the patterns are not, I mean, they are not fulfilled in a way. I mean, they are still there, the patterns.
No, you're free of the pattern.
In both the cases, whether it is fulfilled or
Both the
redeemed.
cases you're free. See, what do you call any Arjun's? He's having this bath in the Ganga, and the Ulupi comes and pulls his leg, right? And instead of being free of the pattern, he fulfills the pattern. He marries her and has a child and everything, and then goes on his way, right? So he fulfills the pattern, but he fulfills it consciously. He goes into Nagaloka, Nagaloka being the loka of patterns only.
Mhm. Okay.
So there are two ways to work with a pattern. That is, we say there are two ways to work with a pitru. When we look at a horoscope, is one you are free from the pitru, and the other is you fulfill the pitru.
So, isn't it that in fulfillment, there is a chance of the patterns to be slightly altered and more karmic patterns to be formed, while in
If
redemption?
it is done mechanically, definitely. If it is done in reaction, if it is done mechanically, right?
So out of attachment.
Huh?
Out of attachment.
Yeah, out of attachment, mechanical, yeah. But if we don't get attached to the event and just walk through it, what do you call, consciously, then by fulfilling the pattern also we are free of the pattern.
So that means that if the pattern is full pattern and fulfilling the pattern, it can be mechanical or conscious, but redeeming is always conscious. Can we
Yeah.
say this? Okay.
Oh, well, there is a whole of the Samved, which of course he has made a preamble over here because he has said that all those prayers and all that is nonsense. Before he comes to this point, he has said that. But in the Samved, there are different, what do you call, ceremonies and prayers which can break those patterns by certain slokas and certain sound and certain mantras. The patterns can be broken. And mantra yoga can break the patterns.
Mhm.
The pattern fulfilled mechanically or with through reaction, through complaining, is pattern becomes more powerful. But a pattern fulfilled consciously without any attachment, you walk through the pattern and don't allow it to touch you, then it is what you call you are free of the pattern. That is the event which the pattern has created.
So, are we saying we also have a choice?
Huh?
Do we choose that whether we are capable of fulfilling it or redeeming it? Or
It depends on our level of awareness, no? It depends on our level of awareness. First of all, do we recognize that a pattern has come to meet us in the form of an event, right? Now, then we can immediately redeem it. I want this to go away. We use will and we redeem the event. But if we don't recognize and then we find ourselves caught in a event,
yeah.
then we may have to go through the whole line of time of that event. Go through the line of time of that event. And then the other choice is to do it consciously.
So it's better to start with smaller patterns or easier.
Once we had a 2-day camp at Dr. Paruk's house. And it was from morning to evening. Tavaria ji was there, and we were asking questions. And it was a small group. And one of the questions on was asked about Raman Maharishi. So Tavaria Sahib says, Raman Maharishi, he went to the terrace on in a lift, but the pattern of cancer came up the staircase and met him on the terrace. You see, so there was whatever Raman Maharishi did, he could not be free of that pattern of cancer. He had to live through it. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
Right?
but when we start noticing, we can start noticing different kinds of patterns. Some are easier to locate that this is a pattern in terms of how you are reacting with people or how you
How
are.
are you going to locate the pattern? By only symptoms, you can locate the pattern.
Yeah.
But and as we go deeper into ourselves, we know when we look at other people and where they are living mechanically or reacting in, so we know how this is going to lead them to doom. But there is no way to tell them.
Could it also be that all the smaller patterns that surface could be accredited to one deeper pattern which is governing your entire
It
behavioral?
that is called motive. And that takes years and years of self-observation to be able to come to that level of consciousness where you can see your own motive. I have still to see someone. I've been talking with people over 35, 40 years. I've still to see one person who is able to observe his own motives. No one I've seen.
So, in the study of pattern, your life goal emerges.
Huh?
So, in the study of pattern, your life goal emerges. Is that what you mean by motive?
It is patterns which invite the events of life.
So, what is the bit about motive then? Motive, when you're saying motive,
Why are we doing something? We don't know why we are doing something. And we don't know what we are doing.
Yeah, the other day you again emphasized on motive. I mean, is there any way how to put motive into light? I mean, any example of it, or
It takes
that's
years of self-observation to come to a state where you are able to understand what is motive. Now, supposing I'm doing a business, right? So in the business, there is motive. Now, motive is profit. Now, at the sowing, now in the businesses from morning to evening is composed of so many small events, right? In each event, what motive am I sowing? And is it out of what you call greed? Is it out of the joy of making profit? Is it out of the this thing that I have put somebody down and I'm getting something out of him? So I may have made profit in 4 to 5 places, but in each place the motive may be different.
sometimes so it occurs that at that point of time you think that you have addressed the motive or you have seen the motive, but years after you realize that, oh, actually it was this, but
Yes,
it was been
that is realization of motive. Realization of motive. It's very difficult, very, very difficult because sometimes I may give you 10 rupees, right? And I feel I've given you 10 rupees to help you. But the real motive may have been greed. I may know something which is above those 10 rupees.
Yeah, so that was the question. Is there any something which accompanies motive which can be observed, and you know that, oh, this might be this as well?
So in the Indian terminology, we have what do you call that the ego is one, right? But the ego depends upon what do you call six motives. Six motives. And that is what we call as Kam, Krodh, Moh, Matsya, Mad. These are
Yeah,
the six
so
motives.
the Yoga Sutra again, if we go back there, we can go a bit more
Now
thorough.
the six motives are not mentioned in the Yoga Sutra. The what goes to building the ego is mentioned in the Yoga Sutra, and that is the kleshas.
Right.
So
Right.
they have no, somehow they have not mentioned this thing, the six motives. But these are the six motives,
Okay.
right?
Thank you.
So then you just have to observe the motive and that's it. Or we have to do something
But
once we observe
behind
the motive.
behind the motive is the ego, and the ego cannot express itself without motive.
Yeah, but every time, whatever motives you observe, it always goes to the ego. Greed, selfishness, everything goes to ego.
Forget the word motive. Let's forget the word motive. Here we have a guy called ego, and he has only six friends, right? And whenever he cannot express himself without the use of a friend. You cannot see the ego. You can only see an expression of the ego, and these are six expressions of the ego. So for the ego from avyak to become vyakt, from unseen to become seen, it has to take up the shape of one of these six, the pattern of one of these six. And that is the motive behind it. Why did the ego express itself? The one of these six. I don't know if I'm able to express myself.
Understood. And once we have noticed that thing, what to
Then
do
your
next?
then next point is that guy is there right behind that. What do you call the chief weakness is there behind
Yeah.
it. What Gold calls the chronic is right behind it. But to reach to that level, it takes years of self-observation, years of self-observation. But the chronic is a Rakshas. He can change his form. At least he can change his form from what do you call lobe to calm and calm to something else.
Yeah.
Right? And he can also wear what do you call white, what do you call
Robe.
kurta on top of
Pious
it.
clothes.
He can wear white kurta on top of everything. Huh?
In the clock of detachment.
ચેન્જિંગ આઈસ
Huh?
આઈસ ચેન્જ થયા કરે ને બાપુ.
Can't understand what you're saying.
મેં કીધું આઈસ આઈસ આપણે જે આઈ ઓબ્ઝર્વ કરવાનું કહું એ ચેન્જ થયા કરે ને આઈસ ચેન્જ થયા કરે.
The eyes keep changing.
Yeah.
I couldn't recognize you, which motive it was.
બાપુ બાપુ.
Sir, another thing, the line that we were discussing about, life meets with these exacting patterns that have to be fulfilled. So fulfilled can be some very long desires in some other life to get fulfilled. That could also be here, na?
Yes. This I've mentioned many times, even on this platform I've mentioned. And that in the last 2.5 years, I was reading all of Mr. Tavaria's letters. right? And many of them he used to ask me to reply to himself by me. I had to reply to them myself. Now, there would be in one case, there would be a person is saying, okay, should I go ahead with my relationship with this person? And he would say, tell him to tell her or tell him to go ahead. In another case, he would say, no, tell them to break it off immediately. So I said one day, I asked that, how can you give different replies to different people this way? So he says, in one, the karma has to be fulfilled. In one, they have to break it off from the beginning. And, and in our case, we have to realize that, and this Bhagwan used to say many times that some things have to be fulfilled and some things have to be what you call willed away through what you call consciousness, right? So that requires what is called a little bit of discrimination capacity, Vivek. There must be the ability to discriminate between them. So if in the because the example he used of Raman Maharishi, he said that Raman had to go through cancer. There was no way he could what you call say that he wants to this to go away. He could not will it away. He had to fulfill the event which came to meet him.
Rajan,
And why could he not will it away?
Huh?
And what was the reason behind it? Because it had already reached a certain.
He said there are two types of patterns. One which has to be fulfilled, and that is and in a certain state of consciousness that you see Jesus could not run away from the what do you call crucifixion. He had to go through the crucifixion. So if you compare the crucifixion, what Raman went through was nothing. No?
Rajan, what if our body is rejecting a certain amount of people?
The bodies may reject the people, but what we are getting into is the aggressiveness and the reaction inside, and try to be free of that. Huh? And learn to relax the body. You're not doing the tense and relax exercises in the morning. Are you doing them?
No.
But then don't ask the question.
So, sir, in Raman Maharshi case, when the cancer came, it was redeemed only when he was suffering consciously. That I have to go through this.
And there are
get
2
it
points
ready.
for that. Yeah, one point is there was no complaining,
Yeah,
right? There was total acceptance. There
correct.
was no involuntary suffering. The suffering was totally voluntary, and you can say to a certain extent very conscious, right? And the thing is that this relationship of consciousness to suffering. Can you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Right? See, my whole life, I have worked for a certain state of consciousness. Right? Now, I'm gifted with that state of consciousness. And it's through my efforts, but I'm still gifted with that state of consciousness. Now, the question which would come in is, can I still lose this state of consciousness? Is there any way I can lose this state of consciousness? So then comes cancer. So cancer brings body pain, cancer brings its suffering, whatever it has. And cancer tells me that if you go through cancer holding this consciousness, that consciousness which is still not permanent will become absolutely permanent and you'll never lose it. I don't know. Well, am I able to explain what?
Yes.
Yes,
So,
yes. Yeah.
so in any kind of suffering, whatever practices we do for consciousness, they are much more powerful than when we sit in meditation for hours when there is no suffering. You understand what I'm trying to say? Supposing tomorrow I have a fever and I have a very high fever and I can't hold my thoughts or anything. And in that, if I sit and practice the 3-step and hold my thoughts and keep my mind calm and don't allow mind modifications to happen, then that practice is much more powerful than years of just sitting in meditation. You get it? It becomes permanent because I've done it when there is suffering. So suffering and consciousness have a very deep relationship.
So is this also a kind of suffering, Rajan, that whenever you're sitting to chant, there is some attention which is pulling you out in the world?
There's always something pulling you out.
Why?
Why? It's not asked to ask the question why. It is asked to rise above that. To accept it and rise above it. See, you're not doing the refining exercises. You're not practicing 3-step rhythmic breathing. You're not doing anything and you're still complaining. Right? And complaining only makes matters worse. At least fast for 1 month. 1 month, don't complain about anything. See if you can do it.
And all the patterns that have not been redeemed, so to say, will come back again to meet us, to be redeemed fully.
Now, this is very, in the sense, there are only 6 political parties. Right? And once one political party has been made weak, it can't do anything. It's redeemed. See, in the end, there is pattern and there is identification with pattern. And what is the characteristic of identification with pattern?
Reaction.
Reaction or negative.
Reaction and
Negative emotion.
Negative emotion.
Yeah.
So the minute you have risen above reaction and negative emotion, right? You're now those patterns are not in a state in which they can catch you, What do you call? Right? So now you can start working on motive. But if you react at small things, you still get upset at small things, you're still complaining about everything, then you've not risen to that state where you're capable of working with the patterns, working for motive. So again, it boils down to what Gurdjieff says that are we still expressing negative emotion? Do we still get upset? Do we still react? Do we still get irritated? Do we still get angry? Do we still see something and get jealous? Right? Do we still justify ourselves? Right? Are we still in a state of self-justification? Right? Or do we always feel we are better than somebody else? Do we always feel that we know better than somebody else? Till we have cleaned ourselves of all this, to look at motive is very difficult. See, somebody is advising me, right? Somebody is advising you have to do this in this way. But he cannot see that behind that is the pattern that I am better than you, right? I know better than you. Can you get it? Right? And behind that is the motive, there's a desire to be something supreme in the world or something, right? And all this he cannot see. Right? And that is the sad part of it. These are the same people who are giving lectures everywhere.
Not only giving lectures, they're cashing big time on this. This is a big way of cashing in.
We'll read ahead. This is a very, very important point. This is very important.
Had one more question on this.
Yeah.
Let's say even for if for some particular pattern we
Again, you
fulfill
know,
it.
one of the things you said over here, individual's path. Can you understand this? You asked that question based on these circumstances and events cross the individual's path. So again, that is a very, very important thing. What is the individual's path? My level of
Being.
awareness. At this moment, this is my level of awareness. You see, my being is a huge building, right?
Yeah.
My being is a huge building.
Yeah.
But in the being, there are different levels of awareness. Just now, am I sitting at a higher level of awareness or
Lower.
lower level of awareness? Now, if I'm in a meditative state or what Mr. Tavaria ji calls the meditative attitude, then my individual path is at a different level of
The being.
awareness, right? So then the circumstances and events which cross my path will be of a different quality.
Yeah.
You understand? But just now I've got very angry on you, upset on you. I've fallen down to the, what do you call, basement of my building, right? Huh? And I'm sitting there upset. You have gone away, and I'm recounting the event that I should have given him a little bit more, right? So then I'm at a different path, individual path. And that the individual path has changed. And now I'm inviting different kind of events and patterns in my life. Can you get it? So throughout the day, we keep on moving up and down in our own, what do you call, building, what Gurdjieff calls our level of being. The level of being keeps on changing, right? And we keep on and at each point we are inviting different events and what do you call? So then again, I come down to a lower level and I trigger something which I triggered in the morning.
Can we give an example of like playing in a game? You know, you start with a level and certain kind of characters come and meet you at that level. Once you are able to move past that level, then there are other challenges that come into your way and some basic ones repeat again. And then you fall down to few levels back again. So that could be one
You
way of
take a game, like you're saying, and in the game, what do you call? I'm being chased by people who want to steal my money and also maybe physically harm me, right? So in the first day I play the game, right? Somebody has caught me, has stolen all my money, and he has given me a beating with some leather belt or something of that sort of stick or something of that, right? Now, as I play the game every day, I suddenly become aware this guy is coming from this direction, and I'll hide behind a rock,
yeah.
right? And I say, this guy is coming from this direction, I'll do this, I'll do that. And maybe after 6 months, I'll come out of the game without what do you call
Getting harmed.
being harmed. Have I risen to a different level?
Yeah.
Now that game cannot affect me.
Yeah.
Right.
The muscle memory has gotten trained, your behavioral pattern and reflex has changed completely.
That game cannot affect me. Now, supposing tomorrow in real life it may never have happened, right? And I see 4 or 5 people on the road or something, they're coming behind me. Immediately, I'll hide behind a rock or I'll do this and I'll do that. And automatically, this is called spontaneously, surge. You know, what do you call, even though I've never been trained in life to do this. Right? I'm at a different level of awareness where I don't, and I really won't invite such a, what do you call, event in my life. Oh, can you get what I'm trying to say? Because
Yes.
now I'm free of that event in life.
So the level of awareness decides the level of.
We can also
quality of-
choose our challenges. You know, if a certain kind of challenges is something that's upsetting us over and over again, we involve ourselves into a different challenge, you know, and try which interests us, and then play that game. So, for example,
Yeah.
Diablo is a game that spiritual gaming that EJ talks about all the time. It takes your focus and trains you in a certain way through different levels of a game on a different plane.
Yeah, but then there is another thing over here, that we want to arise to a level of spontaneity where we don't have to choose.
Sometimes choosing becomes a lifesaver, you know.
You know, where it just happens, where you call spontaneous. But that can only happen when we are free of mind modifications. Mind modifications. Shall we go ahead? Yeah. Yeah.
Such memory patterns accumulated from the beginning of Swaha to the grossest point of Nadir in Bhu are now on their way seeking redemption or failing which fulfillment.
Right.
But
We
no
have to read.
redeem.
We have to now. You try to understand that from Swaha to Bhu, Nadir, right? So even in Swaha, if something was to hurt us, we would run away from it, right? Simple pattern, Dukh Anushai Raga, Dvesha. Simple pattern. So, and that same pattern will keep on getting what do you call repeated till right down to Nadir. Hmm.
But no redeeming is possible unconsciously nor by any law of causation. They are to be understood and to be transcended intelligently, sincerely, and knowingly by each and every person.
Yeah, but law of causation, which he calls the law of karma, in a certain sense, it also works in redemption. So we can't say nor by law of causation, right? But in our case, there will be a little bit of law of causation. Little bit of law of causation. Maybe in Mr. Tavaria's case, there's no law of causation. I don't know if you understood what I'm trying to say.
No.
Somebody says something and I react, right? So that reaction is in the form of anger, right? Uh, Now, so in this moment, I am sowing the seed of anger, right? And that sowing the seed of anger follows the law of which law?
Causation.
Causation, right? It becomes a cause for me becoming more angry or more identified with anger with some other event which creates anger tomorrow or day after that. And is this clear now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, again, the same event comes to meet me, right? And in that moment, I pause my anger. I don't allow myself to express the anger, right? And I look at I throw consciousness, the light of consciousness upon the event. And because I don't allow the anger to be expressed, the anger dissolves, right? And the anger dissolves and it becomes what do you call? So instead of sowing the seed of anger, the anger becomes a what do you call cause for consciousness, right? So I'm instead of sowing the seed of anger, now I'm sowing the seed of consciousness. And that seed of consciousness which I've sown in this event will tomorrow come out with new events tomorrow, because that again will become a causation for a new event, right? But he is saying that the seed of anger which you have sown is law of causation. This he has said is not law of causation because, and of course, Gurdjieff takes one under the law of what you call accident and the other under the law of fate. So again, Gurdjieff also separates both of them over here, right? But what I'm trying to say in a little way that consciousness is also a causation for something new happening in my life tomorrow. Have I expressed myself properly? Have you understood what I'm trying to say?
No,
Yes?
so
Yeah.
isn't it the anger which we, paused at that time? Isn't it redemption only?
So that movement from anger to consciousness, sowing the seed of anger to sowing the seed is redemption. You have redeemed the anger.
Hello, Rajen bhai.
Haji?
Hello? Yeah, does that
Mr.
mean that every moment we have a choice?
Who is it? Mr. Surat?
No, Ramesh here.
Arey, Ramesh. Acha, Ramesh. Acha.
Does
Right.
that mean that every moment we have a choice that either we
Yeah,
go higher
every
or
moment.
lower?
Yes, every moment we have a choice. Or whether to sow a mechanical seed or to sow a seed of consciousness every moment. If we sow a mechanical seed of reaction, it will invite different kind of events tomorrow. And if we sow a seed of consciousness, and this is moment to moment in our lives.
Does that mean that every thought, if we look upon that, every thought that passes in during our whole day, it affects our future life?
Excuse me. I will just add something there
Okay.
that what is the intensity in the thought?
Mm-hmm.
It is the intensity, the thought does not affect the future life. It is the intensity in the thought which makes either the pattern, which decides the kind of pattern which is going to come, the intensity of the pattern.
Okay.
Now, supposing you have taken my pencil,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm looking for my pencil and I don't see it. And then I see you took it away.
Mm.
And there's a moment of slight irritation. And I pause over there and I say, let him take it. So there's no consciousness, but I have the reaction was of very low intensity.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So
So,
I have sown the seed, but I have sown the seed with very, yeah. And Ivan will stop after this question answer. Yeah.
okay.
I've sown the seed with very low resultant intensity,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I get very angry with you. Can't you see I love this pencil and etc. etc. Then I've sown the seed with. So
Higher.
it is not every thought, but it is those thoughts which have a high resultant intensity.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
So in such a case, if we are more sensitive, then we can even get the intensity also. We can measure the intensity also, right?
Right. See, many people they say कि मारा हाथ नहीं बात नहोती.
Mm-hmm.
I could not control it only. What does it mean that the intensity was beyond his self-control,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Thank you.
So Tavaria ji talks about two kinds of intensity: resultant intensity and resultant pattern.
Right.
Huh? Okay, we'll stop over here, right?
Rajan,
Yeah.
one last question. Doesn't surrender work?
Huh?
Surrender to God. Sometimes when all efforts fail, can God not take over because you're in a situation?
Surrender does not mean giving in.
Hmm.
Surrender means it is a question of will, right? We compare giving in and surrender. So you hear all these people singing bhajans.
Yeah.
They'll sing Meera Dasi Janmoda. They'll try to sing as if they are a servant of God. right? But when Meera says Meera Dasi, she's a queen. She's saying as a queen.
Right.
So you have to be a king first to surrender. If you go when you don't have a kingdom, what are you going to surrender? You got nothing to surrender.
Yeah,
A
got
beggar
it.
can't surrender, right? So right. So
Yeah.
surrender is it's moment to moment. Can you surrender? Somebody's entering your body, surrender, right? Somebody's this thing. Can you surrender? And that is really is real inner. What do you call boldness to surrender? But you don't surrender. You keep complaining.
I got it. Thanks.
Okay.
Pranam.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Jai
Bye-bye.
Bhagwan. Thank you.
Jai
Thank you. We'll
Bhagwan.
see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.